Hey guys, it's Abby from Autumn of Pellinor, and today I'm going to be giving you some non-fiction recommendations. Now this is going to be a little bit of a mix from different non-fiction genres and also some more well-known ones to some more unknown ones. So let's get into it. This first recommendation is probably one you've heard of, and it's Hidden Figures by Margot Lee Shetterly. Probably know this because it was turned into a film. And this is all about the women of NASA, especially the black women of NASA, that have not really had a voice because white men have claimed everything is their own. So I really do recommend this book. It was a little difficult for me to get through because the writing was really small and it can sometimes go into a bit more technical language, but at the same time it was so interesting. You don't just find out about the struggle, which is also incredibly important, and the treatment of these women, both white and black. They also do mention the treatment of the white women. It's better than the black women obviously, but they are still women at this time. It's not great. And it shows you how NASA has evolved and how it came into being, and how it evolved from a World War II faction of like trying to beat the Germans to going into space and going to the moon. So it's an incredibly interesting book. I've yet to watch the film. I don't know how it differs, but I will get to it at some point. But it's really, really interesting, it's really, really important, and you'll learn a little bit more about American history. Well, at least I assume this isn't taught in schools in America because everyone was like, oh my god, this is so different. It's not taught in schools in England. Then another one that hopefully you've heard of, which is I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai, and this is her story about her life. This is the teen edition, purely because it was cheaper at the time. I may pick up the adult edition at some point to see what differences there are, but I literally got this because it was cheaper. And it should be roughly the same story. Because it's the teen edition, it will have less harsh language. It probably won't go into as much depth with more violent issues. Obviously she was shot in the head, but it's still a really good read. So if you are a teen and watching it, definitely, and if you're an adult, whichever one you want. So Malala is a female education rights, human rights really, activist, and she was already promoting females being able to get an education when she was shot in the head by the Taliban for this, because they don't like females being educated. And she was rushed to various different hospitals. She ended up in Birmingham in the UK, and she has stayed here since. I think she's at Oxford Uni now. And it's about her story kind of up until that point where she's in England, and her life before, how she grew up, what her parents were like, and just kind of what happened and why she's like this. And it's a really interesting read, and she's such an amazing woman. Then one of the books that's doing the rounds in the UK here at the moment is This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. This is a book all about the junior doctors' experiences in the NHS. So junior doctors are not inferior in any way, it's just the name of like a general doctor. Weird, I don't know why. And the NHS is the National Health Service that we have here in the UK. It's our free healthcare, essentially. So we pay for prescriptions and we pay for a couple odd little bits, but if I have a heart attack, I won't pay a single penny. My taxes go towards it. And so this is about one doctor's experiences working within this system. And it's really funny, but also really heartbreaking. I agree with the two men on the cover, Jonathan Ross and Stephen Fry. There are some moments where it's really, really funny because obviously you're going to see some weird things working in healthcare. People doing weird things, and yeah. But then at the same time it's also heartbreaking in that you see a lot of death, and he does recount some of this, and then also his personal life is shot. His mental health probably could do with a therapist. Just doctors in this country, I don't know how it is in other countries, but doctors in this country are overworked and underpaid. So are the nurses, so are pretty much everyone who works within the NHS. They are expected to work unreasonable hours and will have been working for 18 hours and then told to go into surgery and save someone's life. It's a harrowing look at that, but also a look at why people go into being a doctor in the first place. You don't go into this to get money. Like, it's not going to work if you stay within the NHS. Like, you go into this because you want to save people, because you care about people. And that is a really important thing to take away from this book. It also looks a little bit at the privatisation. We do have a private sector here in the UK for healthcare. Not many people use it, but some do, and it kind of looks at that and the differences between it. So these are, I assume, edited versions of his diary at the time. He wrote down all of these events. So it was kind of written to himself. I assumed it's edited a little bit for the public eye. But it is, you can tell it's a diary, and there are certain points where he's kind of very honest and very just no bullshit. So this is a really, really interesting read. I picked it up because I saw Portal in the Pages talking about it, and then I saw it in Sainsbury's. So I had to grab myself a copy, and I read it in like a day. I couldn't put it down, so definitely recommend this one. Then onto a slightly different topic. It's Other Minds by Peter Godfrey Smith, and this is about the octopus and the evolution of intelligent life. So this looks at coleopods and how they've evolved and how they are essentially us under the sea. They are really clever animals. This was kind of a push. Octopodes, these, I don't know, used to be my favourite creatures. One of my favourite animals as a child, but I have a phobia of anything that lives in water now, so this was kind of pushing myself to read about these. It was dipping a toe in, you know, it's an animal that I've always loved, but it's in the water, so that's kind of why I picked it up. I was really interested and I ended up really, really enjoying it. My amazing friend Amy bought me this book. Thank you, Amy. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. I've annotated different bits in it. There's some bits that are just really cool, and it's showing how studies of these creatures have been able to help humans, as well as discover more about the oceans, as well as discover more about these creatures themselves, because there's so much unknown and they are so intelligent. So if you are at all interested in intelligent life, it's described in here at one point that they're like aliens, because we don't know a lot about the sea. We don't live under the sea. But they are another intelligent life on Earth. Like, they are so clever. So it's just, if you're vaguely interested in it, I do really recommend. It was so incredibly interesting. There's some really beautiful photos, and I learnt a lot, and I just kept spouting to my boyfriend like, oh my god, did you know this? And spouting random facts. So it's a really good book, and I definitely recommend. Thank you again, Amy. And then the last book I'm recommending is The Last 7 Months of Anne Frank. This is a bit of a change from the others, and also one that you're not very likely to have heard of. I have not heard of this since I bought it. I grabbed it 12-13 years ago when I went to Anne Frank's house, the museum that's in Amsterdam, with my school, and it took me a very long time to pick it up because honestly I was kind of scared. I was like 12 when I picked it up, and I was scared of the content because obviously Holocaust, concentration camps, it's not nice. But now at the age of 21, I think younger people can read this if you think you're emotionally strong enough, but now at the age of 21 I just absolutely, it was amazing, it was heartrending. It really showed the camaraderie of the people in the camps and how they came together and how the women all supported each other. And this was made as a documentary as well, and so this book includes what wasn't in the documentary. So obviously the title is The Last 7 Months of Anne Frank, but these women also have stories of their own. So rather than just focusing on Anne Frank, which is what the documentary did, this also just tells you the stories of these amazing, incredible, strong women who survived through the Holocaust, lived to tell the tale, and are here to warn you about what's happening now. It's an incredibly important book. It's just absolutely amazing. These tabs are all bits that I found important, or they're not colour coded, I just picked whatever colour, but they're bits that I found important or heartbreaking or funny or inspiring. So there's quite a lot of them, and you see some pictures as well of ID cards and of the women themselves, and it does relate back to Anne because all of these women knew her and interacted with her at different points in the camp, and also sometimes before the camp. So yes, if you are at all interested in World War II, I recommend you pick this up. It's an amazing read, and it's not the happiest of reads, but it's, yeah, I think it's very important, and I really do love this book. And that's all of my non-fiction recommendations. I have read other non-fiction books, and there are other non-fiction books that I think are really good, but I've tried here to give you guys a bit of a range of different genres within non-fiction and different things that you might be interested in. Non-fiction is such a broad subject that people tend to not go into because they're worried about, like, oh, I'm just gonna have to sit there and learn facts, and in fact it can be incredibly interesting and incredibly fun, heartbreaking, knowledgeable. They're really, really good. So I recommend at least trying non-fiction. Like, go to your library and pick up a non-fiction book that is in a topic that interests you and just see how it is. And if you do have any recommendations for me, please leave them in the comments down below. I am always wanting to read new non-fiction. So thank you so much for watching. My Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads and my blog are all linked down in the description below. And if you enjoyed my video, please subscribe. And yeah, let me know if you've read any of these, put it down in the comments, or if you're gonna go pick them up, or what non-fiction you recommend to me. I like most topics, so just recommend anything. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!